Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Maria Fontana Show. So, today's topic is all about being out of integrity and what it means to me, my perspective on being out of integrity and putting everyone else's needs first. So, first and foremost, I want to ask you guys, how many of you have pushed aside what you really feel and what matters to you to put someone else's needs first? I know myself as a woman, as a mother, as a wife, as a daughter, as a sister, as a CEO. Many times in my life, I found myself putting my needs second and putting everyone else's needs first. Now, in this episode, I'm going to talk about a few things that I did in the past 20 years to make some radical changes. Well, maybe not always radical, but small shifts and radical changes to my own life and how to really find a balance where I could still give with an open heart and feel good about it, but not at the cost of putting myself last, right? Not at the cost of feeling empty. So, a big buzzword that has been coming up an awful lot lately for me is integrity. I just got done reading a great book. I will link it below. I can't remember the name of it right now, but I know integrity was in the title. And what this book basically said, it was her take on integrity, that integrity is your being. Like, what resonates with you? Like, what beliefs, what, um, thoughts, what things that you want, like what feels good to you is your integrity. And this really hit home because I thought to myself, it's so easy to be audacious or behave unauthentic, but it's really hard to stay in integrity in the way I look at it. So here's a few things that I've done that I've implemented and I help a lot of my clients implement that have really made a huge change. So the one thing is I want you to take a minute and really breathe and really tap into your inner self and ask yourself, what do I want? What feels good to me? Now, this is such a tricky question because so many people feel paralyzed when I say to them, what do you want? What feels good to you? It's like, well, I didn't even know I had a right to say what feels good to me, or I didn't even know I had a right to be happy. I mean, I remember early on in my journey when I started doing my healing work, I was totally blindsided and shocked at the fact that I had a right to feel good. I was totally shocked and mortified that I could say no. And I was actually blindsided and shocked when I started to realize when I was working on my inner game and my healing that what I felt was the barometer. So I'm going to be sharing in this podcast episode, what does that mean for you? And how do you tap into your barometer, right? We go into people pleasing because we want to feel loved. This is my take on it. I went into people pleasing my whole life because I wanted approval. I wanted my mom's approval. I wanted my family's approval. I wanted everyone to be happy. So I thought if I constantly pleased them, it's like playing whack-a-mole, right? You're like, somebody, they were finally going to be happy. And then everything was going to be okay. But what happened is that becomes a habit. And guess what? Nobody's ever okay. And the pattern just keeps going on and on and on and on. So integrity is really tapping into your GPS. This is my take on it. What does your soul say? What do you want? So I want you to just stop for a second, unless you're driving right now. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, what feels good to me? What do I want? And if it's too painful or hard to tap into what you want, do it in smaller increments. I want you to sit quietly, maybe once or twice a day, and just close your eyes, put your hands over your chest, and ask your soul, your intuition, your inner teacher, your inner light, what feels good to me? I do this exercise every day because even though I'm teaching personal development, even though I can say I'm almost an expert in growth and personal growth, I still have to work on my own inner game and my inner shit because some stuff keeps creeping back up. Old habits creep back up. So I have to constantly remind myself and refresh my own integrity. And also, what we want changes. What you desire today might not be what you desire next week. What your soul desires changes as you grow and evolve. So stop for a second and allow yourself, I challenge you this week to allow yourself to say, what feels good to me? What do I really want? Does what I'm doing every day feel good? Or while you're doing things, check in with yourself, be like, how do I feel? We're so used to being unhappy and feeling uncomfortable that that becomes the norm. That becomes the norm for so many of us because we're so conditioned to accept not feeling good. So when we accept the fact that I really should be feeling good because it is our birthright to feel good. Well, another shocking discovery I found in all these years of doing personal development work that it's my birthright to feel good and I deserve to feel good. And it's okay to feel good. And I'm allowed to feel good. And you're allowed to have love and you're allowed to feel good. All these things are things that at some point in my journey were an utter surprise to me because it wasn't the operating reality I ever had. And I know hundreds of people that have come to work with me in my programs of one-on-one and we start working on their business. Next thing you know, it's all the inner stuff. It's all the inner garbage, the old beliefs. It's all that made the transformation in their lives and why I've pivoted my direction on the work I'm doing because the inner game, our lifestyle, how we feel is ultimately what the journey of this life is about. So I want you to reflect on your integrity is your soul's calling. Really analyze this week. I challenge you to sit quietly 2 times a day for 5 minutes. And I challenge you to ask yourself, does this feel good? And if it's no, then don't beat yourself up. Be loving and kind to yourself and say, what would feel good? Also, another question I ask myself a lot is this true? I'm doing something, but it doesn't feel good. I'm saying, why am I doing this? Is this my truth? So many times you'll realize it's not. It's a habit, and you keep doing the same thing out of habit, but not out of integrity for yourself. So today, I want you to think about, are you integrity? Not with the rest of the world. Are you in integrity with yourself? Are you putting yourself, your needs, your desires, your wants, your happiness, your heart, and your soul first? And what can you do to honor that a little more? If this episode resonates with you, I want to invite you in. I'm inviting you to come into my private community. I have a closed door community on Facebook and a closed door newsletter where I share really deep work. I'm going to drop them below this video or below this podcast in description. I want you to join me there. If you want to go in even deeper and work with me one-on-one, just head on over to mariafontana.com and schedule a session. Schedule a call. Let's deep dive in and see where I can support you. This is your time. If you keep waiting, it's only going to make more time pass. As always, share out this podcast if it resonates, share it with your community, and leave me a review if you've had a great 20 minutes listening. Sending you lots of love, guys. Thanks again for tuning in. I'll catch you next week. Lots of love.